I'm just somehow convinced that we've not been at war, like in the way that everyone is on the uproar and everyone is really convinced that we have to change something. We have not joined forces with all the other splinters in this society all over the world that struggle for basically the same thing, but that don't have the possibilities as we have. We are the ones that shape the future. We have the possibilities to affect what technology is like, and technology is what is driving our future. So it is upon us, and it is our responsibility more than most other groups to take influence on this in a way that is moral and constrained only by moral and not by the state.
Amen. Well, if we've been demotivating in any way, and I think then that is not the idea here. The idea is not to be demotivating, but the idea is to impress upon the people that at least keep talking to me that something fundamentally has changed over the past 5 years.
And so that we really need to do what you say, that we really need to hook up with people who want to change society for the better, and that we are the ones who have the tools to maintain a breathing space for them. And
yes, yeah, that too. But that also, we need to realize that the space that we have to perform this activism in, the space that we have to do these changes has shrunk. And that we need to all realize this.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well,
okay. I don't know who's in
Yeah.
line, but I'll just take it. So I really wanted to thank you all for bringing this topic up. And one of your things you said is all the other organizations that we could work with. And I really think that's a call for getting more politically active, and that's a very good thing. One thing, though, I'd like to take issue with is one of the suggestions you made about the technologies. And the technologies you mentioned are really the ones that this group probably has a lot of knowledge about, which is cryptography and all that kind of stuff. But these are basically evasive tactics. It's hiding. It's not progressive. It's not what you asked for in the later part. Humor, jamming, in-your-face attitude, what I would call that. And this is, I think, some of this might be because there is some technology that's coming, that's behind all these new developments that we actually don't know that much about. Or there's groups that know much more about it, and that's machine learning, that's computer vision, that's surveillance technology. And I would really like to state that I think these technologies are getting much more important, and that we as a hacker group have very little knowledge about all that, and that we should change that and should get into these things. And they are very interesting and cool, and it's really hot stuff. It's fun. Yeah. And so if anybody who doesn't really know what to study yet, get into these kind of things.
I agree, but you need both. For instance, if you want to pop up somewhere and do something funny and open and out in your face, you may want to prepare for it in a way that they're not expecting. And the only way to prepare for something in a way that they're not expecting it is if you can use cryptography to do the preparations. So even if you do something completely out in the open, you may still want the element of surprise.
I have one minor point and a bigger one. The minor one is you asked for people to please raise their hand if they believe that change was possible in the next few years. You didn't ask the second question, which people don't, because there would still be a group that wouldn't raise their hand at all, amongst them me. So suddenly you get a much bleaker picture of the atmosphere in the whole room than you might have gotten. That's one. The second is, the both of you talked about they quite a lot. They have a proposal already the next day in Parliament. They are vying for DNA sequencing. They want to have cameras in their own street. But you're all talking about different theys at the same time. The first they who have the proposals ready is people in Parliament. The they who want data sequencing is both scientists and some lobbyists and some politicians. The they who want cameras in the street are people. And lumping it all in one doesn't make the issue any clearer. Actually you're sort of modifying it into almost something that verges on the big theory.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think that's helping. I want to add at one example. Well, you know it from my own studies in this Dutch patient records. Suddenly we, the Dutch, are getting this electronic metric ID card. But that was very much a card in search of a function, which is this electronic. But it's not that there was this master plan to give all of us those cards, and they've just been waiting for the opportunity to do so. As in, there was this giant master plan behind it. It's just as haphazardly as we suddenly, oh, you and I talk, and then I say something, you say something, and the third of us gets this bright idea. That's what's happening in other areas as well. And suddenly you turn it into a sort of complot.
Okay.
Which,
You're absolutely right. I normally, when I speak of they, I say something very much along these lines that it's very hard to define a they. On the other hand, somebody did have all these laws ready in all these different countries. And these may be different groups, these may be pressure groups inside the Ministry of the Interior, these may be, it's sometimes very hard to say who is they. It's just very easy to see when you're confronted with a pan-European and very well-defined strategy. And it's very hard to think of any other word than they. Having that said, I do believe a lot of it is indeed haphazard. A lot of it is indeed chance, but a lot of it isn't also. The Dutch movement to register where all the vehicles and all the people are going has been going for 7 years, and it's basically been this answer looking for a problem. They've been wanting cameras that register license plates for logging who drives where for the past 12 years, 13 years. And first it was
I'm sorry, you're doing it again. That they... it's not, but please let me elaborate. The people in that street that you talked about that want cameras might not be the same they who want to have electronic identity cards.
Granted.
That same people might have, and you're sort of not clarifying that if you call everybody they.
Yeah,
that doesn't help.
That might be the case, but...
You're absolutely right. I'm using the they here for a sense of brevity. Let me quickly go into this road pricing thing. This has been a sort of a traveling answer to various problems. When the wall fell, it was there to prevent cars that were being stolen in Holland from making it to Poland. Then it became, when road safety was an issue, it became a thing for catching speeders. Then it was a taxation thing. Then it was a road pricing thing when we started having too many traffic jams. And I believe that there is a fraction with the Ministry of the Interior, with Justice, that has wanted a log of which car went where consistently over the past 15 years. And that not all of it is haphazard, not all of it is chance. But a lot of it is. Never attribute to malice what can be sufficiently explained by stupidity.
Yeah, but at least I have some counterexamples to that. So at least in the area of, for instance, telecommunications surveillance, we see a very clear trend that industry is providing solutions way before the demand is there in terms of laws, and that there is a strategic coalition between politicians, industry, intelligence, security, community, that is driving that thing, laws, European directives, and so on and so on. And so what is happening at the EU level is not haphazard. Nobody can tell me that. It's not just happening. This is 15 people who know each other for 15 years, sitting in a back room making a deal. So this, if there ever was a secret government, then it's in Brussels in the back rooms right now. So, and
Steini.
I would go a step further in the they question. I guess there is no big difference between they and we in terms of the technicians, the freaks, the techies, because we got all that fucking technician ideas. Yeah, we are their technical brain. So we tell them, hey, take care with that technology, once could do that or that, and they think, hey, cool, good idea, we should do that. Yeah, and we tell them, cameras, what ones could do with that cameras? And, hey, brilliant idea, let's do that. So we always should know that we are their strongest weapon in that war. And for every poison you invent an anti-poison in somehow. I don't know how to do it, but always keep it in mind. This is the one first step to accept and to understand that we are part of the problem, not only part of the solution.
Do you consider it possible to overfill these collecting databases because there are a limited amount of disk space even in the future and limited amounts of processing time for profiles?
No, I don't think that's realistic. I've joked about making a small script that turns my whole hard disk into encrypted email headers, so I can put my whole hard disk in backup on the data retention stores. In reality, the whole romantic notion of hackers or just random people clogging up all the databases with false information, I don't think makes much of a difference. Data mining is very good about filtering out noise, especially if it's random enough. So
fucking with their algorithms might be possible. That might be something worth considering. So if you know what specific algorithms, for instance, is being used in an automatic video surveillance system, then playing around with that algorithm to get certain results, for instance, false alarms based on, I don't know what toys, that might be possible, but filling up the communication surveillance databases, I think it's just a few Perl scripts away to filter that noise out, or whatever they use.
We have loyalty systems for the supermarkets, as I'm sure they have everywhere, and in the beginning of that, people were saying, well, you should just swap these cards around because that's much easier. Because then they will just get all this false information in the database and you can still get the discount. And then we sat down with a few people and we just calculated how easy it would be to match where the card went, because you just see record swapping. And you could then not only know what you bought, but you would also know who you knew and who you swapped cards with, and you would get a very quick database of who is how active in the movement of evading loyalty cards, as a bonus on top of knowing what you buy. So there's, no, in a short answer, I don't think poisoning the databases, inserting rubbish is all too effective of a strategy. It may be effective in the minds of people, it may be effective in the brains of the people that want to do something. And as a symbolic gesture, it may be worthwhile, but in practice, against people doing real data mining, I don't see it offering much of a solution.
Well, I was, one last, please.
Yes.
I was thinking about it because from my point of view, there are a lot of organized retired people, and I know that some of them aren't very happy with their new passports, for example, because face recognition has problems with old people. And I could imagine about maybe 100 or several hundred old people kind of making a human brute force attack to some passport check station and just going there with all their passports, and they won't work until the system has to show that it's not up to the job.
That's always good. Showing that it's not up to the job, showing that there is technical failure is never bad.
It seems to me that everything you've described, which I think are a bunch of really good ideas, and I'd like to help as far as I can, but it seems to me that it's all very reactive. It's reacting to several agendas being set by other people. And therefore, I think if we just keep in that mode, reacting with all our cleverness and ideals to other agendas, that then probably we will already have lost the war. And it seems to me that a lot of going on the offensive, I mean, we still have a lot of people in the US, but even in the Netherlands, for instance, that believe that Saddam Hussein had something to do with 9/11, and if he didn't, well, then maybe he did have weapons of mass destruction, and if he didn't, well, at least he was a very nasty guy, so it's good as he's gone. And this is considered by many Dutch people, true story, a justification for killing 150,000 Iraqi civilians. And one of the reasons that many people appear to believe this is that because they haven't been, told about stuff like the Downing Street memos that show that Tony Blair and Bush knew full well in the summer of 2002 that the whole weapons of mass destruction story was bullshit. So why do most people don't know it? Why do most people in this room probably even have never heard of the Downing Street memos? Well, one of the reasons is because many others of us haven't told them. And so you go back to the basis where all this crap began, which is Iraq, which is 9/11, of which there are many big stories that are full of holes. Yeah, full of holes.
But that is basically even more reactive because you're trying to correct the perception of the past against a huge propaganda machine. So I don't really see that wasting our time on that is really productive.
As long as the myth of Iraq and the myth of 9/11 continues to exist, then it will continue to be used.